Hello and welcome. It is Vintage Super League time once again. I'm Randy Bueller, joined by Chris Bakula. How are things, Chris?
Things are going pretty well. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. We were just chatting about vintage. I figured we could have this conversation live. You were telling me that you're struggling to understand this particular vintage format. Is that about fair?
Uh, yeah. I just haven't played that. I've played very little outside, my VSL matches or match.
Batch.
Um, and there's just a lot of weird things going on right now. Kind of strange belts. I don't really. It just seems like everyone's kind of experimenting,
Yeah.
and none of us are really. I mean, Rich is kind of playing a deck that he played. You guys all played
The Power 9 challenge.
that Power Nine challenge. But
There's
Rich is
another
the.
one on Saturday, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's it's the last Saturday of every month now. It's just the pattern. It works out to be like the 26th for
Uh,
December, but
I
you don't have anything to do on the 26th. I probably will be playing it, but
I'm unlikely to be playing it, but yeah, it just seems like Rich is the only one who stuck with his deck choice for that, right? And
Eric won the thing with Storm and then ran back his winning Storm deck.
oh, he did stick with Storm. You're right. I'm sorry. So I'm just kind of, but it just seemed like everyone else kind of ignored the results of that tournament. I feel like. Uh,
So I looked at it. I mean, I played Doomsday in that tournament rather than
right.
Storm, and I was just afraid that any splash damage that was going to be targeted at the Storm decks was going to hit me, which is why I kind of audibled off of Doomsday.
Right.
I don't know. That Storm deck looks really good. I kind of agree with you that people are experimenting in Vintage right now. I think that from my seat, it feels like the last set of B&R changes were kind of perfect. The Shops deck's a little weaker, right?
I agree.
Chalice being restricted also means you can play more moxes, you can have a little more fun with some stuff, you can toy around with Thirst for knowledge. And so, yeah, we need a VSL season to sort it all out.
Yeah, I honestly, if I had, I probably would have played Storm if I if you had given me like a tournament to play with it. Just given me like 5 or 6 rounds of real tournament practice, and I probably would have played it. But that's not what happened.
Yeah, fair
So
enough. So you wound up running Shop stacks, which you've played a lot of over the years.
yeah, but I've never played a version of
Just
Shops like
aggro
this.
Shops. You seemed a little unsure on the details of where Shops is at nowadays.
Oh, I really don't like the deck I'm playing. This is probably my least favorite VSL deck I've ever played.
Should have
Like,
just run back Blue Belcher. You and I
um,
was starting to do that archetype breakdown. If you look historically across Vintage Super League, I mean, obviously I didn't do this when I picked my deck because Dredge is miserable. But the Blue Belcher deck that we ran, it went like 7-2, I think. It's sitting at 77%.
yeah, but I feel like we played that deck back when it was safer to think no one was going to play Shops except maybe me.
Sure.
It's
I
and
also
then at some point the dam broke and it was like now anybody can play Shops. Um,
And even the people not playing Shops are playing like a random Stony Silence or Null Rod in their sideboard. Sometimes even their main deck to Enlighten Tutor for.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I actually I look at that 77%. I'm like, this I should run this back, and then I just know that like that was very much us taking advantage of a place where the metagame was soft, and the metagame just isn't soft to it anymore.
I also wasn't. I'm not 100% sure on whether Belcher is favored against Storm, which was obviously another issue. Like because I thought there would be a lot of Storm. So
Yeah, I thought there'd be a lot of Storm too. I think it feels like it might be slightly faster. It's close though. It's probably a go first matchup.
yeah, I
Like
mean it's the Belcher deck plays out differently than I think people think it does. Um,
because it
especially
can play
against
control, right? It can be the
right.
crucible deck.
If you're playing against a deck without Wastelands, you can kind of play control. Um, so it is kind of interesting, but yeah, and nobody's. It's just going to be hard to play it when just because the Shops match is so bad,
Yeah.
and then if the four if your opponents are like 20% Shops and 20% no rod decks, all of a sudden 40% of your matchups are just really really hard.
Sigh. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was interesting. Like I want to put a graphic together with all the matchup data for maybe after the holidays. But mentor decks have gotten killed historically too. It's like I think
Well, I
right
mean,
when Monastery Mentor got printed, where people were experimenting with it and nobody quite had it figured out, and or Jace hadn't been printed, and or Chalice hadn't been restricted. Because they feel like they're all over the place in this current vintage. Like the vintage right now feels like there's Storm decks, there's Mentor decks, and then there's like aggro Shops trying to keep people interesting. And yet historically, Mentor's gotten crushed in VSL.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the thing that makes me think I don't really understand the format right now is because when you look at the mentor decks, there's a lot of disagreement on how they should be built. There's a lot of cards that are kind of surprising, um, and it just seems like those decks specifically are really experimental. So you'd expect them to maybe not do that well until somebody really figures it out. Although I think they have been doing well in Magic Online.
Yeah, no, I think that if you look at the list that like Luis played at one point, there's a Jace Vryn's Prodigy mentor list floating around that it looked to me like all the experimenting had finally sort of settled in on, oh, here's how you build a mentor deck, right? You play all the Moxen, you only play a couple of mentors, but you play Jace Vryn's Prodigy, and that list seemed to me, I mean, Rich has been experimenting, like adding colors and adding green, and like I think he has like a D5 he rolls to pick a Dragon Lord every week. I'm not quite sure how that works, but that's what it looks like. So Rich has been experimenting around the edges, but I feel like they're starting to develop a consensus about how to build mentor. I just don't think it's good to storm. Like, I think it's soft to storm unless your sideboard is really well set up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's against the primary advantage of mentor over like young pyromancer is you can win like races where like maybe against merfolk or something that you couldn't win otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know
and
if
you win heads up, right? You're just naturally advantaged against the pyromancer decks.
Right, exactly. So,
which I think have largely been driven out.
Right. The other weird thing is like that white is just kind of an interesting color because you end up with like Swords of Plowshares in your deck, which could just be dead against some people, and then you have a real desire to play like hate cards like Stony Silence or something like that, and then that can warp how you build your deck. So
I think Vintage is in a super interesting spot. I know. I feel like you sound almost frustrated that you haven't solved it yet. I just love the fact that it's not solved, right? We've been playing with the same cards for 20-some years, and we still don't know how to solve it. It's awesome.
I think honestly, if I sound frustrated, it's just because I kind of like every Magic format right now. So it's not like I'm bored of the other formats. So this is just another format I'm still figuring out.
Fair enough. So we do have a cool thing for you guys tonight. We have the first ever Vintage Super League preview card. I was sitting at dinner at the World Magic Cup across from Blake Rasmussen, who's the guy who runs Daily MPG and puts the preview cards together. I'm like, why doesn't Vintage Super League have a preview card? I mean, it seems like we got all these people watching. We should get preview cards, right? Especially, I mean, I kind of knew that these expeditions, there were some vintage relevant expeditions. And he was like, yeah, you guys should totally have a preview card. So we have a preview card. I think that we can just put it on the screen. One of the expeditions from Oath of the Gatewatch. If you guys haven't seen, there are lots of vintage relevant expeditions. I actually really like the way that WotC has taken this idea of expeditions and used it as kind of a way to reprint cards that are relevant to older formats, whether it's modern or legacy or vintage. And there are lots of vintage relevant ones. I mean, Mana Confluence just, honestly, I should have asked earlier. I mean, I think we could have gotten a sweeter preview card if I'd asked earlier before the list got too picked over. But I think the art is cool here, and I think the fact that there are these expeditions floating around is kind of super awesome.
Yeah, I like this one more than most of the expeditions. I find some of the art and just some of the layouts of the cards distracting. For something about this one, I like better than the other ones I've seen.
Yeah, so. No, I think I mean I don't know. I'm always a sucker for sort of very colorful 5-colory art on 5-color cards. I don't know. That's always worked for me. But you see off to the sides 2 other very relevant expeditions that are going to be in Oath of the Gatewatch when that comes out in January. Both Ancient Tomb and Forbidden Orchard were shown off at the World Magic Cup. This is the official debut of Mana Confluence. This is the first time anyone has officially been able to see that this card exists. So we're happy to bring it to you here.
That's cool. Although, of course, sad because, you kind of want to have Cities of Brass in your deck, Cities of Brass.
I mean, look, you do and you don't. Like, Mana Confluence is actually better. It's depressing. Like, I want to play my Arabian Nights City of Brass. I want to play my expeditions. The problem is the Tangle Wires are everywhere, Chris. You can't play City of Brass over Mana Confluence in a Tangle Wire world.
Yeah, I know. I know you can't.
I mean, look, The dream of tapping City of Brass for the lethal point of life to cast a Tendrils of Agony and then gaining the life before the trigger resolves on the stack is real. Like, you can make the case for City of Brass, but Mana Confluence is actually just better. It is going to be floating around Vintage on the edges. Ancient Tomb Forbidden Orchard obviously floating around a lot more, and there's more coming. There are other very relevant to Vintage expeditions for you guys to chase down in Oath of the Gatewatch, so... Yeah, happy to, and hopefully we've managed to insert ourselves into the process too. We can bring you guys more sweet preview cards for future sets.
Yeah, whenever they print like new strip mine, new, not expedition, but like a second functional reprint.
Oh, you want a functional strip mine? That's when Magic was at its best.
Yeah,
you could just blow up each other's land. Fair enough.
I'm sure they'll let us preview that one when it happens.
Probably, I don't know. Seems like that might be a pretty relevant card to other formats too.
I was, that like Robo Rosewater Twitter account that has like all the machines.
Yeah, sure.
Did you see the card today?
No.
It was like blue for a 3/3 that you could sack for a black mana. I was like, I wonder if I could play this in some kind of storm deck sideboard. Just beat down, but then you can sack it for black if that's not working.
People can get strip mined at the Pro Tour, that's a thing, right?
Oh yeah.
It limited at Pro Tour Atlanta. Somebody could totally get strip mined right out of the tournament.
Yeah, that's actually really bizarre. Yeah, that is extremely strange. I forgot about. I was thinking you could do it at like random tournaments, but I forgot about the Pro Tour.
Yeah, no, they leave the expeditions in the packs. I mean, certainly, historically, with Pro Tour formats, the foils have been taken out of the packs, but with expeditions, you're like, this is just a big part of what's going on in the set. So they're in there. You can definitely get expeditions. In fact, at the World Magic Cup, some of the most treasured souvenirs people were taking home were Pro Tour stamped expeditions that they'd opened up the team seal.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the expeditions. I've been collecting them for sort of like Canadian Highlander decks, or I can sort of like, okay, I can get like one of each of the fetch lands for my Canadian Highlander deck. I've been using Puka Trade to do that, which has been a lot of fun. I also think I like them. I like the idea of the expeditions just in the fact that it does give Wizards a way that they can print cards that aren't necessarily standard legal, but that sort of help there just be more versions of these cards to go get for Eternal formats.
Yeah.
All right, but we get some Magic to play. So who are we watching? We've got Rich and Bob coming up first.
That's what you told me. I'm relying on you for that kind of information.
Yeah, so Rich and Bob, I love Bob's deck. We do have deck lists now, by the way. I mean, do the exclamation point deck list. We'll get you the link in the chat if you're watching the stream right now. Deck lists went up live the day after the show. Here is the Tezzerator, just beauty that Bob Maher is running.
It's hard not to like this deck.
I love this deck. I mean, I'm rooting for this deck to work. Like, in my heart of hearts, I feel like it's just as soft to Null Rod and Stony Silence as our Belcher deck. Just because, having your lands get turned off is just a beating. So there's the deck list is missing 4 Seed of the Synod. You see 14 lands there, and there's actually only 10 lands listed. 4 copies of Seed of the Synod is what's missing from the list. And that does make you super vulnerable to any kind of turn off your artifacts hate. But how cool is this deck, right?
It's really cool. I mean, I like to see the return of... It's funny, like, Blightsteel used to be lame, but now I miss it because we never see it anymore.
Yep.
I've always... Tezzeret's cool. And, I really like this deck. I mean, once again, it's like it shows a lot of choices that I don't know if they're right. It still seems like people are experimenting. Like... Only 2 mental misstep, 1 red. I guess 1 red blast, 1 pyroblast. The negate. There's just a lot of interesting stuff going on here.
Yeah, the 4 copies of Thirst for Knowledge is the thing that I think really is the engine that makes this deck viable. Right? It's you play all the artifact mana. Thirst for Knowledge has been unlocked and Chalice restricted. I think that was the obvious direction to try. You're like, okay, can I play 4 Thirst for Knowledge? I can play all the artifact mana. Oh, I'll go all the way to Seed of the Synod, which again, apologies for leaving it off this version of the deck list. It's up on the website one. And then you get this artifact deck where suddenly Thoughtcast is viable because you have so many artifacts in your deck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is interesting how the way Magic has has kind of moved is that, like, if you had asked me, if you went way back, we played Vintage 15 years ago or whatever, it's weird how the actual card drawing engines these days are not really any better. Like,
Yeah.
they just don't feel like the fact that like Gush and Thirst for Knowledge and you think there would be something better than Thoughtcast at this point. Like, I know people play Night's Whisper, or at least they were playing Night's Whisper.
Yes.
It's just weird how you could still kind of build decks around these cards that, they're not divinations, but there's plenty of games where they are divination-ish.
Fair.
But that's how Magic is. One man does a huge difference. That's why Night's Whisper could be played in Vintage and divination could be cut from limited decks.
Yeah, fundamentally, I look at this deck. I think this is a Time Vault deck, right? 2 keys to combo with the Vault, Tezzeret to set it up, a couple Divining Tops to go looking. But anyway, super sweet deck. That's what Bob is going to be on in the first match. His opponent, Rich Shea, is on the latest in his series of Monastery Mentor decks. I think Sylvan Mentor, although Dragon Lord Ojutai is now sort of pulling in yet another color direction. The Sylvan Libraries, though, have become a fixture for Rich. He thinks this card is just awesome. And speaking of card drawing engines that were around 15 years ago, Sylvan Library, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's also the only one running the Gush Fast Bond at this point, right?
Wow, is that true?
Unless Steve has it in his Doomsday deck or something. But
well, Doomsday is, of course, going to have the Gushes. So, but, I mean, it feels different in kind there, right?
Well, no, I mean, I think other people have Gushes, but I think is Rich... Oh, no, yeah, it has the Fast Bond, yeah. So Doomsday still has it, but other than that, I don't think anyone else is running... for a while, we were seeing Fast Bond in a lot of decks. That's kind of like... I feel like that went away.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes in the Gush decks is what it goes in. But then, like, are you really going to add a color to your Pyromancer deck? Or are you really going to add a color to your... your Mentor deck? And Rich's answer was, yeah, I'm going to add a color because I get to play with this awesome Sylvan Library.
Right. So, like, I guess we only have 2 Mentor decks.
God, I keep looking at the Seeker of the Way. Do you believe him? Like, I could be talked into Sylvan Library. I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I'm not sure I'm buying Seeker of the Way.
I guess I don't. I mean, no, it's really hard to believe. It's hard to believe that there's not something else you want there. Especially because I don't.
I mean, look, it could be a 3rd Monastery Mentor, but he clearly wants a 2-drop. But, like, that's the best 2-drop Secret.
Maybe with Sylvan Library, he likes the life gain. That's not...
Oh, sure. That's why it's not a Tarmogoyf, I guess.
Right.
It's because you want to gain the life to draw more cards with Sylvan Library. That's actually sounds kind of relevant. I mean, certainly, the way I was always taught to play Sylvan Library, you play Sylvan Library, and the next turn you just subtract 8 from your life total and pick up 3 cards.
Right, so it's not that it's totally... I don't think it's irrelevant, obviously, but it does seem like any game where you have a Sylvan Library out, you have cards that you're casting, and you have a Seeker of the Way in play that can successfully attack, it feels like you're already doing pretty well, so it feels a little win more, but maybe even Vintage win more is... it's more of a lock up the game than win more. I don't know. It feels like you're already doing so well when this all comes together.
I think the Sylvan Library adds up pretty quick, the life loss.
Oh, it definitely does. But then, I don't know. I'm sure we could come up with some other life gain card that this just replaces he cut the Dramoka. So he had to...
I don't think Dragon Lord Dramoka was in there for the lifelink ability. I think that was more about the uncounterable and opponents can't play stuff on your turn ability.
I think he did like the lifelink against double strategies. I don't know. We'll have to ask Rich. Are we going to have him on here later?
Yeah, I don't remember if he's doing around tonight or not. He might not be. So. He's around chat, though. Our chat has been on fire today. That's been fun. So, Rich Shea versus Bob Maher. Who's your pick?
I'm gonna. Well, this might require me looking at the sideboard. So what do we have? We have.
Yeah, it definitely requires looking at the sideboard. How many ways does Rich have to just destroy Bob for relying on that many artifacts?
So,
not much.
Rich does not. I mean, he drew a lot against me last week. He doesn't have Stony Silence, though? Is that
I
right?
don't see Sonic Silence. That's exactly what I was looking for, and it's not there.
Right. So relying on Nature's Claim and Ancient Grudge is not really as good against Bob's deck.
Yeah, I feel like he can play the control role. He can just get
Right.
ahead of you with the thought cast, with the thirst for knowledge. I think Bob's like there's no way for Rich to punish Bob, and if you let Bob actually just implement his artifact based card drawing game, I think Bob just wins, doesn't he?
I think so. And there's really only one Swords to Plowshares for Blightsteel. There's no real. I guess he could have Steel Sabotage after boarding.
Still, one main deck answer to Tinkerbot, one sideboard answer.
He doesn't have a Jace, right? Yeah. So I think Bob probably
He
has.
does have a Jace. There's a Mind Sculptor.
Oh, he does have a Jace and a deck. Okay, so he has a Jace and a deck. So that's actually not that crazy. Um, so I don't know. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I mean, I do think that I'll be interested to see how much of this artifact destruction Rich brings in, because I guess it's easy to just say bring in all of it. But then, Bob is probably going the games where Bob resolves two of those card drawing spells. You're not going to be able to mana screw him with the artifact kill, and now it's more about can you win the game just because you can destroy Time Vault when Bob casts it, and how easy is it for Bob to get out of that? I don't know. I would think that Bob has an advantage here, but maybe we're wrong.
Chat has just pointed out that 4 of the 5 creatures in Rich's deck are standard legal right now.
Well, creatures get better every year. That's not surprising.
We're playing spells from the 90s and creatures from the 2010s. That makes sense, right? Yeah, I don't think you beat Bob with 1-for-1 artifact removal. I think you beat him by just punishing him for playing Seed of the Synod. Like you're not gonna Ancient Grudge Seed of the Synod.
Right. The way if 1-for-1 artifact removal beats him, it's going to be because Bob doesn't have enough ways to win, and you get a mentor in play, and then Bob casts Time Vault, and you Ancient Grudge it, and he mana drains, and you grudge it again, and then then he casts Yawgmoth's Will, and you Nature's Claim it, and your mentor kills him before he can actually just stick his way to win. Or he tinkers and you go Lotus Dak.
Yeah. Dak and Jace are the scary reasons for those are potentially very good cards for sure. So what's your matchup this week?
I play against Kai's unusual blue-white control deck.
Fair.
He lost to Shops last week. It's a strange matchup. He has a Crucible and 4 Wastelands and a Strip Mine main deck. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen a lot of that style of control in this league.
True.
So I don't know. I think his deck's unusual, and it's not clear to me what's going on. I don't love my deck though, so I wouldn't pick me against anybody. I mean, every time I draw Hangar Walker, I'm like, how did I talk myself into this? What's happening?
Look, you want to have a conversation about how did I talk myself into this? Look at my deck.
Yeah,
the curse. I didn't believe in the curse.
Yeah. So what's the matchup this week?
I get Kai next week. This week I get Martel. So he's basically playing Mentor. He's playing Mentor with nothing particularly scary in the main deck. His sideboard is decent. He does have a good 5 or 6 sideboard cards against me, and they're split up. It's like 2 enchantments, 2 artifacts, so that Serenity is good, but I can't go all in on either Ingot Chewer or Wismare. It's one of those where like I kind of wish I had Nature's Claim, except I like the way that my Dredge sideboard doesn't have Nature's Claim, because Nature's Claim can get Mental Misstep. So none of my ways to blow up things are vulnerable to Mental Misstep, which I think is like I turn a profit by just not having any Mental Misstep targets. But at the same time, no, I'm pretty happy with that. But at the same time, like, do I want Ingot Chewer or Wismare against the guy who has 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, right? He's diverse enough that I don't line up perfectly. I mean, just the Serenities are kind of perfect.
Does Containment Priest mess you up?
Yeah, I have to kill Containment Priest, but I mean I just have to bring in the land, the Barbarian Ring to kill Containment Priest.
So he's got some annoying stuff.
Yeah, and Containment Priest Containment Priest can mess me up. Like, it doesn't actually stop Bridge from Bullet tokens from coming into play, but it does stop, like, Narcomoeba from coming into play to be sacrificed to generate the Bridge token. So, like, it kind of has to come down right away to do serious work. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, mostly I need to draw Bazaar and just, like, hope the curse is more joke than real. Well, it sounds like we are ready for round 1, so let's get down to the action, guys. Time for week 2 of Vintage Super League.